Shabnam Wafawja Minanom led discovering that the whole city has turned into a giant construction site. A young man woke up from his sleep. The city he lived in had been demolished overnight and was now under major construction. Cars were lifted like toys, buildings were reduced to rubble, and everything was literally turned upside down. What happened to the city? Who's behind this? And what will happen to him? Let's find out in today's episode. The first thing Leo noticed was the loud drilling sound, even though he slept with his mouth open, which was unusual for him. As he lazily opened one eye, he saw a blue light coming from outside through the curtains. Startled, he quickly sat up on the bed, trying to figure out what was going on. Usually it was pitch black at this time of day, but not today. As he walked toward the window, he noticed something strange. The sun was shining brightly as if it were noon, yet the sky was filled with an unnatural bright blue light. As he looked around, he noticed that the ground was shaking. Rubble was falling from the buildings, and several people were running around in panic. Leo quickly got dressed and ran to the front door. He needed to get out of the building as soon as possible, but when he opened the door, he found himself face to face with a wall. As he looked around, he realized that the street in front of his house had turned into a massive construction zone. Heavy machinery was digging deep into the ground while workers were frantically running around. A few people who were outside when all this started were trapped in their cars, screaming and waving for help, but no one was paying any attention to them. Determined to get to a safer place, Leo decided to run away from home. He had no idea where this commotion was coming from or what was going on, but he knew he couldn't stay in his house. All around him, houses were crumbling and falling apart. He could feel the ground shaking beneath his feet as if an earthquake had just struck. The young man started to run, hoping to find some answers along the way. On his way, he noticed a group of men standing together, watching everything that was happening. They seemed calm and in control, as if they knew exactly what was going on. Leo tried to approach them and ask some questions, but as soon as they saw him coming, they started yelling and making threatening gestures. Terrified, Leo started to run again, trying to get away from those mysterious men. When he finally managed to stop and catch his breath, he found himself in a park. People were sitting on benches, looking scared and confused. Some of them were crying, others were hugging each other tightly, as if trying to find comfort in each other's presence. It seemed like everyone was afraid of what might happen next. The drilling noise had stopped, and now all they could hear was the sound of their own breathing and the occasional scream of someone who had been trapped in the rubble. Suddenly, the ground started to shake again, but this time it was much worse. The earth cracked and split open, buildings collapsed and fell to the ground. People screamed and ran for cover, but there was nowhere to hide. Leo found himself on his knees as he watched in horror as the world around him crumbled into pieces. He closed his eyes tight, trying to block out the sounds and images of the destruction. But no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't stop seeing the terrified faces of the people around him, nor could he stop hearing their desperate cries for help. As the dust settled, Leo slowly opened his eyes to find himself in a completely different world. The once bustling city had been reduced to a pile of rubble and twisted metal. In the distance, he could see the silhouettes of gigantic machines moving around, clearing away the debris. He had no idea what had happened to the city or to the people who lived there. He didn't know if he was the only survivor, or if there were others out there who had managed to survive the disaster. As he stood there trying to make sense of what had happened, he heard a voice behind him. "Well, well, well, look what we have here. One of the lucky ones who managed to survive the initial blast." Turning around, he found himself face to face with a group of men wearing hard hats and reflective vests. Their faces were grim and their eyes were cold and calculating. "Who are you?" Leo asked, his voice shaking. "What happened to the city? What happened to the people?" The leader of the group let out a harsh laugh. "This city is gone, kiddo. There's nothing left here but rubble and memories. As for the people, well, let's just say they're no longer a concern. Leo's heart sank. He had a feeling that these men were responsible for the destruction of the city and the disappearance of its people. But why? What had caused such a catastrophic event? And what did they plan to do with him? Over the next few days, Leo learned that the city had been demolished by a powerful corporation known as Omnicorp. The company had claimed that the old city was dilapidated and unsafe, so they decided to rebuild it from scratch. But Leo suspected that there was more to the story. He had seen the way those men had looked at him as if he were nothing more than a lab rat. He had a feeling that they were using the reconstruction of the city as a cover for something more sinister. One night, as Leo was scavenging for food in an abandoned supermarket, he stumbled upon a secret passageway leading underground. Curiosity got the better of him, and he decided to follow it. The tunnel was dark and dank, but eventually it opened up into a huge cavern. In the center of the cavern was a massive machine that hummed with energy. Leo had a bad feeling about this, but he couldn't shake the feeling that he needed to get closer. As he approached the machine, he saw a group of men huddled around a table. They were the same men he had seen at the construction site. "So, the boy found the entrance," one of them said. "What should we do with him?" The leader of the group spoke up. "He's a liability. We can't risk him exposing our secret." Leo's blood ran cold. He realized that he had stumbled upon something he wasn't supposed to see. He tried to turn and run, but it was too late. The men had seen him, and now they were closing in. Just as they were about to reach him, Leo dove through a hole in the wall and found himself in a secret laboratory. He had no idea what was going on, but he could hear the men talking on the other side of the wall. "We have to destroy the server. If the authorities get their hands on it, we're done for," one of them said. "But what about the boy? Do we just leave him here?" The leader of the group replied, "No, we can't take any chances. He knows too much already. We need to erase his memory and then bring him back to the surface." Leo had no idea what they were planning, but he knew he had to stop them. He had to destroy the server before they had a chance to do whatever they were planning. With a determined look on his face, he started searching the lab for a way to do it. Meanwhile, the men were getting closer to him, their voices echoing through the lab. "I don't like this, boss. What if he finds something else? What if he tells the world what we're doing here?" The leader of the group let out a harsh laugh. "Don't be a fool. He's just a kid. He doesn't know anything. Besides, we'll make sure he never does." After a few minutes of searching, Leo found what he was looking for, a small device that looked like a remote control. He had no idea how to use it, but he could hear the men getting closer, and he didn't have much time to spare. He pressed a random button, and suddenly the lights flashed and the room went silent. What had he done? Had he just made things worse? To his surprise, the room was plunged into darkness. He had no idea what had happened, but he could hear the men panicking on the other side of the wall. "What's happening? Why is the power out?" "I don't know, but we have to get out of here before the backup generator kicks in." Just then, the lights flickered back on, and Leo saw the men standing in front of him, their faces pale with fear. "What have you done?" the leader of the group shouted. "You stupid kid, you've destroyed everything." Leo didn't respond. He had no idea what was going on, but he could see that the men were scared. And in that moment, he knew that he had done the right thing. As the men were arguing, Leo slipped past them and made his way to the surface. He had no idea what the future held for him, but he was determined to find out the truth about the destruction of the city and the disappearance of its people. Friends, the series is coming to an end. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon for more new episodes. See you soon. Bye.